It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call this special city council meeting to order. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Council for making time to meet again this week. Could we get a roll call for attendance, please?
Councilmember Zeter.
Here.
Councilmember Hands.
Present.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Redding.
Here.
Councilmember Morgan.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Galloway.
Here.
Mayor Andrus.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on our agenda for this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to invite everyone to please rise and join me in stating the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is agenda item number 4, which is our public comment period. And to be clear, this is for public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda. For those in the audience that are here for the infrastructure project, there will be an opportunity a little bit later on in the agenda to speak. But again, this is for items not on tonight's agenda. I will invite you up to the podium to state your name and address, and you do have 3 minutes for public comment. For things not on tonight's agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Alex Wilkening, 103 Fifth Street. I love you all, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Just wanted it on the record.
I've missed that. Thanks, Alex. Next, we have agenda item number 5, which is an approval of lead service replacement program. Under 5A is an approval of our resolution 22.33, which is to authorize the issuance of a 2022 water supply system junior lien revenue bonds in the amount of $3,200,000. And this is to fund just a portion of the lead service replacement. That's a state mandate. Joel?
All right, real quick before I hand it over to Doug Swears, who's the director of our Water Utilities Department, to go over this, both 5A and 5B. Parker Johnson wants me to let people know there is water and coffee back there if you get thirsty. So, Parker, the message has been delivered.
Thank you, Joel.
All right, thank you, Joel. The city applied for DWSRF funds, specifically Booker funds, which are to replace lead service lines throughout the city. City did receive, or was awarded, Booker funds by the state. We still have to go through the bonding process because the state puts the bonds out. It's similar to as a regular bond program. But then once we apply for the funding as we pay for bills and stuff, at the end, then the city, or the state forgives the amount that is drawn on that bonding. Our ceiling that they will forgive is $3 million. The bond resolution is for 3.2. That's in case there's any overages. What the Booker Fund does not cover is any engineering. So like up to now, Abamarsh, our engineers, they've helped us do all the applications, do the bid specs for part of the work because approximately 1/3 of it was bid out for a contractor to do that work. And that work involves longer services so that that would go to the water main in the street. So the plan is that the contractor does these services and then does the repairs on the street. City workforces would then, other services that have already been replaced from the main to the curb stop or right-of-way area, city staff will then replace the portion from the curb stop into the structure. And the funds are the cost of city staff doing that, equipment rentals, is all reimbursable through the Booker funds. So, the plan from the beginning was city staff do approximately 2/3 of it, contractor do approximately 1/3 of it. These funds will be available for the 23 construction year and the 24 construction year. So we have really 2 years, 2.5 years, once all this is settled in the next month or so. Let's see, is there anything? We plan on replacing anywhere from 600 to 900. It was originally stated that because initially the state allowed up to $5,000 per service. in some of the initial ones that were bid earlier in the year, the state saw that the contract amounts were coming in way higher than the 5,000 amount. Initially, when we decided to do the plan, we are using city staff. We looked at it and said, we can do it less than $5,000. So that's why we're hoping to be able to get more than the 600 services or 5,000 a service. So, any other questions then from council?
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for that update. I will say, when I saw the agenda, I was kind of like bonding, so I got a hold of Joel to make sure that this was the Booker funds that we've been talking about for so long. My question is that you had mentioned the resolution is for 3.2 million. What about that? If we do need to tap into that other 200,000, is that a true bond that wouldn't be forgiven?
I'm actually going to defer to Dan. My recollection of it, the state will only give us the $3 million. The resolution was written for 3.2 for any overages. I don't know if that actually turns into a bond. Right now, the amount of engineering that we've had up to this point, we've paid for out of fund balance.
The city would have the option of funding that out of its own capital or bonding. They also have the option of altering the scope of work to bring it within the 3 million. So, once we get out there and get moving through things, like I said, like Doug alluded to, there's the contracted work, which is looking to go to Millbocker. They submitted the low responsive bid. That work is going to be done out to the roadway, and the city will be undertaking the work that has already been done within the roadway. They would be completing the works that have been done over the past several years. And then the scope thereof would be flexible to operate within the city's desired budget.
Thank you, Doug and Dan. Any other questions? Oh,
The one thing I'd just remind council, or, the comment I would make on this real quick, is this is a state law. We have to replace our lead service lines. This is a huge get for the city of Allegan. I mean, we have 1,400 lead service lines we have to replace, and we secured $3 million in forgivable funds. These would be costs that we'd have to, bear on our own if it wasn't for the work of, Avon Marsh and City Council authorizing that, project plan that they developed, year to year and a half ago. We submitted it, and we scored high enough to get this funding, these forgivable funds, which is just a really huge win for the city of Allegan and the residents.
Thanks, Joel. Roger, you had a question?
Just for clarification, the 200,000 of the 3.2, did you say, I thought you said initially that was for any overages, but then we were talking about having to pay for the engineering fees. Does that still come out of that 200,000? It's going to be on top of the 3 million because we can't use the Booker funds money for that?
Yeah, so our goal is to use $3 million for lead service replacement. Because engineering is not even allowed to be repaid by that $3 million. When the bond attorney did the initial intent to bond, he wrote it for 3.2. The engineering estimate on that, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a little over $100,000, if I remember right, Dan, for the Booker funds and having engineering oversight for the full 3 years, and that was actually doing more contractual work than city staff work. We've kind of switched that around. So the bond attorney wrote it for the 3.2 million. Because engineering's not allowed in that 3 million. Again, the city goal is, any engineering fees are just paid out of fund balance. Right now, the contract we have with Avon Marsh is through the bidding process. That's pretty much all been paid because we're at the end of the bidding process. So, I don't foresee us going into that 200,000 because, and as Dan said, as the project, progresses, at the end of it, as far as the city work, once we hit, the end of, say, $2 million, we're done with what we wanted to do. We don't have to do, we can do more, but then it's on the city dime out of fund balance. But what would be drawable out of the Booker funds. Same with the contract work. We've identified 90-some services in the bid packet, based on the price that the contractor gave. We may be cutting that down so that you know, he does 90 or 85 services and it ends right at $1 million. So, you know, this one is, because we're doing services at, you know, one after the other, or groups of, you know, 1 or 2 or 3, it's more controllable of what the end cost will be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Were there any other questions, Mike?
Madam Mayor, we've talked about this several meetings, I believe, and the information tonight, I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 22.33.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Council, is there any further discussion?
I did have a question about Exhibit A. When does that get filled in?
What page number are you on, Dave? Those
It's
page numbers on all 4 corners.
9 of 13 on the bottom. It's 10 on the corner.
Yeah. So Exhibit A, so it's filled in after we submit to the state, and they tell us what our number is going to be, the principal amount and the dollars, the percentage. So this is all done through the State of Michigan Department of EGLE, the Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Department.
Council, is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, come on up. If you could state your name and address, please.
Tracy Perigo, 176 Jackson Street. I just have one question that came to mind. I'm sure you guys have said this millions of times. The up to 100% forgivable of the 3 million, when that is refunded, what fund does that go back into?
So it will be, the water fund will front the money to pay the contractor or to pay city staff as they're doing it. But then the money that comes back will go back into the water fund to reimburse that
Okay.
amount that's put out initially.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion from council or comment from the public, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next up, we have under agenda item number 5B, which is a resolution of an approval of the resolution 22.34, which is to authorize Millbocker and Sons a tentative construction contract for that drinking water system in the amount of 1.32 million and change.
All right, I'll handle this one real quickly. We went out for bids. Millbocker was the sole bidder on this project. This money should be able to cover anywhere from 90 to 100 of the more complicated lead service line replacements. This is a resolution is in your packet to tentatively award the construction contract because we have to go through the whole CWSRF, you know, finalizing of the loan. Similar to like when you buy a house, you get pre-approved, you submit an offer, it's, you know, accepted, and then it goes through the underwriting process, and that's what we're in, after council approves this tonight.
Thanks, Joel. Was that the DWSRF? Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Okay, you did. There's clean water and drinking water, so just different acronyms.
And they're both clean.
Yes, our water is very clean. Plug, okay. Were there any questions at all from council for staff? Okay, seeing none, could I get a motion, please, to approve Resolution 22.34?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, we have agenda item number 6, which is an approval of the downtown infrastructure project. Under 6A, we have an approval of Resolution 22.35, which is to approve the downtown infrastructure funding program. Staff, I understand that we do have a presentation this evening, correct?
Correct. And before I get started, this presentation is going to really cover all 3 items under 6. So after we're done with the presentation on 6, I think that's the opportunity for council to open the floor for public comment, and then for, you know, council to ask questions of staff. We do have the engineers from Abbott Marsh in the back corner there. We also have Doug Swears, our Water Utilities Director, and Tracy Stahl, our Finance Director, here as well to answer any questions council may have. The first thing I want to just reiterate, I want to put it back up on the screen for council, is our vision for our downtown. This is in our downtown plan. It's been approved by our Downtown Development Authority as well as our city council. Downtown is committed to creating a well-designed place where the community comes together and fosters the economy. There are three things there: well-designed, community, and economy. Over the past, we have made several investments in our downtown. These are public investments that the city has made and that the community has made. Most recently, we've completed the 2nd Street Bridge rehabilitation. We built a performance stage on the riverfront. We added public art down on the riverfront. We built a splash pad on the riverfront. We created a community fireplace. We've installed a canoe kayak launch. We've renovated and expanded the district library, and we have reconstructed and redesigned the Cutler Street parking lot. On the screen are images that capture some of those investments that have been made. This is a phrase we use at City Hall often. Investment begets investment. Over the past 5 years, we've had 20 new businesses open in downtown Allegan. There's been 17 new second-story lofts, created in downtown Allegan. And we have invested both publicly and privately over $8 million in downtown Allegan. Things are happening here. We're here tonight to talk about our downtown core. The image you see on the right-hand side of the screen is a bird's eye view or a plan level view of the project scope. The center horizontal street is Hubbard Street. The project scope starts over by Walnut, which is where you find what we call our civic area. You have the Griswold Auditorium, the Allen District Library, the Episcopal Church, the county courthouse. You make your way down Hubbard, you get more into the commercial retail area. You get our first entrance into the riverfront. You come to a very neat intersection down where our retail and our entertainment, corridors collide or connect or converge, depending on the verb you would like to use in that area. And then we empty up down here on Water Street. So this is a significant investment along a long stretch of road in our downtown, and really the main gateway coming into the city from the west. Then we have Brady Street. Brady Street is on the southern end of the downtown. It is our southern gateway coming in over the 2nd Street Bridge. And then we have Locust Street going up to Water Street. And then this area where we're planning a public pedestrian plaza on Trowbridge between Minnie's and the old Creative Events, or the current Regent Arcade showroom. Through this project, it is a complete infrastructure project. We are replacing water mains, we are replacing sewer mains, we are removing lead service lines. This is outside that Booker funding we talked about. This is a separate project. We are installing new roads. We're reconfiguring traffic flow. We are widening the sidewalks. We're putting in new street furniture, new landscaping, new street lights. We're building that plaza. At the bottom, you can see where the budget is right now for this project. Construction costs are approximately $7.77 million. We've added a 20% contingency, which is $1.5 million. Our engineering costs, this is for the design, and then the construction engineering, when the work is actually being done, is $747,000. And we have a total cost of about $10 million. And there's a little note at the bottom that the numbers are rounded for presentation purposes. So I'd like to go over and just highlight the discussion or the summary of the city council meeting on Monday, August 8th, just a short 3 days ago. The project bids were received on Tuesday, August 2nd. That was last week. City council had a chance to review the bids at the regular meeting on August 8th. The bid estimate came in $2.4 million and some change over the engineer estimate. At that meeting, City Council received a funding plan put together by city staff that showed that this project is fundable through utilizing cash, grants, and bonding. City Council asked a series of questions and requested more information regarding how to fund this project. Those questions, I believe we've answered them, and we gave those back to council as part of their packet this evening. They were sitting at, printed copies were at your seats this evening when you showed up. I believe we have three options for this project. Option 1 is proceed with the full project as it was envisioned and planned. Option 2 is do a surface-only project to accomplish some of the original goals. Option 3 is to postpone the project. As we go through the 3 options, you will hear from staff which option we are recommending. Summary 1 of option 1 is the full project. The worst-case estimate, because we do have a 20% contingency on an already high bid that was submitted, is $10,068,862.96. This project will be completed according to best management practices and address the deficiencies in the downtown. The project will be funded in the following new way. We are now going to be recommending we use $1,904,336.12 in cash. This is more than the 1.65 you heard on Monday. We are going to use the $3,401,493.61 in grants and outside funding that city staff has been able to secure over the past year and a half. We are recommending that we bond out $4,763,033.23 in bonds. One area we would like to highlight right now is that we do not have to raise water rates to cover those bond payments. The full project, the impact on the water rates, over the weekend, not over the weekend, because it's Thursday, over the past 2 days since Monday, staff has been looking at the numbers and what we call actual numbers that we have been receiving through our water rates, where for Monday's funding plan, we were looking more of like what the 23 proposed budget was. Based on our actual numbers, we will not have to raise water or sewer rates above our annual planned increases of 1.5 that previous council established. I think it was in 2018 when the council passed that resolution. Impact on the general fund and city street funds. We have $3.3 million and some change in the general and street fund balances. After utilizing $1.5 million of those funds to transfer to this project, these funds will have $1.83 million left in them. This is north of the $1 million or 20% that council tries to aim for when they talk about their general fund. The annual bond payment for this work would be $68,700, and it will be required each year for the next 15 years. On the general fund. Thank you. Cons do not doing this. So if we choose not to do the full project, we have a potential impact on other projects such as, so cons to doing this project, if we choose to go this way, I apologize. We will have a potential impact on other projects such as the roundabout at Hubbard and M89 and 40 and our plans for small urban grants planned for the other streets. As council will recall in the funding plan that I submitted on Monday to you, I talked about future projects. I talked about, we have plans for some street work in the industrial park. We have plans for street work on Water Street and State Street, that little half block, between the current Perigo plant and the old Perigo maintenance building. And we have plans for doing some work on Ely Street. If we move forward with this and our funding for the roundabout falls through, we will have to take that money that we have planned for those other projects and put them onto the roundabout. The average fund balance in our water fund will be $558,000 over 5 years. The average fund balance in the sewer fund will be $2 million over the next 5 years. The fund balance in general will hit a low of $1.7 million in 2025. Again, that $1,700,000 is north of the $1 million that we target for our general fund balance. On the screen here is a further breakdown of the funding, both expenditures on the left-hand side and revenue on the right-hand side. The right-hand side for the revenue showing how we will pay this. The green shaded cells represents the grants and outside money we have been able to secure. The red represents the bonding that we are looking to do, and the blue represents the cash on hand that we're going to utilize. Option 2, surface only. The worst-case estimate for this is a $6.6 million project. The project will not be completed according to best management practices, and we will leave 80-year-old water and sewer mains in the road. The project will be funded in the following ways: $1.6 million in cash, $2.5 million in grants and outside funding, and $2.4 million in bonds. All of the bonding will have to be paid out of the general fund. None of the water fund or the sewer fund can be used for this project since we are not doing water or sewer work as part of this project. We also will have to rebid this project because it is a different program then. The impact on the water rates, since this project doesn't include water or sewer work, there will be no impact on the current water and sewer rate program. I will point out here, this part does include us addressing lead service lines. As Doug mentioned, when we were talking about the Booker funds, we would be using city staff through our forced account to pay for those replacements. So there's approximately 60,
65.
yeah, there's 60, 65 lead service lines in this downtown project area. So those would be replaced. Impact on the general fund balance will be reduced from 2.75 million to 2.1, and an estimated annual bond payment of 207,482 out of the general fund would be needed if we go this route. Cons is we will likely lose the $250,000 set aside because it was very clear that it was a complete project. We will lose the approximate $250,000 in loan forgiveness through the CWSRF program. We will have to go back into the downtown to replace the water and sewer lines, which will require us to rip up the roads, and we will still have to bond for that project at that time. And there is a possibility or a potential that we will have breaks in the existing water and sewer mains from the compacting of the base for the new roads. A story was shared with me when Water Street was redone. They did not do the water lines at that time, and they broke part of the line in the process. And in the mid-construction project, they had to replace that line. So they had to take on that additional cost because they weren't planning to do it, but the construction work of the road caused that water main to break, and they had to go back in. And this will not address current deficiencies with our current water and sewer mains. I'd like to remind council, we have 2 sewer mains right now that go under existing buildings that are occupied with businesses, and one with a business and residential unit in there. This will require us to keep those sewer mains underneath those buildings where the full project removes and reroutes those sewer mains. Summary of option 3, postpone the project. Worst case of estimate, $0 because we're not spending any money. However, one can make an argument for deferred maintenance leads to increased costs down the road. Cons, we will lose all outside funding. The roundabout, when it is completed, will empty into an unimproved downtown. We still will have to bond for the utilities when time comes to replace those utilities. And then we will have increasing issues with ADA accessibility. It's our job as staff to give recommendations to council. It's council's job to make decisions. It is staff's recommendation that since we have a funding plan moving forward where we do not have to raise the rates, and we can afford this through our annual payments, that you move forward with option 1.
Thank you for the presentation, Joel. I just want to come out and say I really appreciate all that staff has done. I know that it was a shock to everyone to get that estimate, have it be that much over, and you had to rush to get us numbers for our packet for our Monday meeting. So the fact that you took the extra time, looked through, figured out all of those different options is really, really appreciated. So thank you for that hard work. But I am now going to open up the floor to comment on this infrastructure, the proposed infrastructure project. We did receive as a council several emails through a lot of local business owners and things, and I do want to try to get those just entered into public record, the names of the individuals that we had received messages from. So I've got them all listed out and printed. Do you want me to read those out loud?
It's up to you. You can either read the names or you can just hand us the packet and we'll make sure it gets in there.
All right, I'll just read them, because if somebody received something that was not in this list, if you could just let me know or forward that, we'll make sure that gets included as well. So we received messages from Jared Dukevich, Emily Barnhart, Stacy Engelsman, Nicole Heslip, Patrick Antonio Westover, Ben Otis, Tim Perigo, Matt Adams, Lindsay Whitney, and Lindsay Hill. Council, do you recall receiving messages from anyone off that was not included on that list? I think we tried to share them if we were wondering if someone was missed. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pass this down then. And then I'll go ahead and open up public comment. So again, I'm going to invite anyone to come on up. You do have to please state your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes to make your comment. So I'll go ahead and open the floor. Would anyone like to approach the podium?
Good evening. Charles Tripp for 19 Hastings Street, Allegan, Michigan. I just want to say congratulations for doing your homework. I'm in favor of option 1, go for the gold. Thank you.
Is there a sign-up sheet up there, Joel? I wasn't sure if Michaela has that up there.
Yes, there is.
Okay. So Alex, could you just jot your name down there? That will make it a little bit easier. Oh, Chuck.
Oh, got it, yep.
So nix that. If you could just really quickly jot down your name, that way we have it correctly.
Good luck reading that. Alex Wilkening, I own Food Motivated. I live in town. Over the past couple of days, I got increasingly frustrated that this was even happening, because option 2 and 3 aren't actually options as far as I'm concerned. They're either kicking the can down the road and accruing further cost, or kicking the can down the road and accruing further cost. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, the experts in the room, this is just gonna get more expensive over time, right? Yeah, thank you. So it seems ridiculous to me, since it can be funded, even if it wasn't gonna increase water rates, it seems ridiculous to even think about doing anything else. How can you expect business owners to come and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, people in this room, millions of dollars in your downtown district, when the city's refusing to invest in itself? Like, we all take out loans and we bond ourselves to the city in hopes that it'll pay us back eventually. And I don't care if we have to bond money for this project. Like, invest in yourselves because we're investing in you. Thank you.
Okay. My name, do I need to say my address if I'm writing it? No, that's fine. All right. Well, I am Landria Johnson, and I just wrote 228 Landria as my address, so there's that. Anyways, I have a lot to say on the matter, so I wrote a letter, basically, and I would like to begin with the fact that I am missing my grandfather's visitation for this, because that is how important it is. So, anyways, I served on the DDA and the Public Spaces Commission from 2018 to 2020, and the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, from 2021 to 2022. Sorry, I'm super tired too, so this is not, there's a lot happening. So, 5 years ago, in April of 2017, I completed my Master's of Public Health in Hospital and Molecular Epidemiology at the University of Michigan. The day after graduation, I picked up the key to the rental space at 100 Locust Street, the first brick-and-mortar home of the Sassy Olive. I took a chance, setting my master's degree aside, to open a small business in Allegan, because this was the community that supported me as I started my business online and at small craft shows, and I believed that they would shop at my store if I opened it in downtown Allegan. Just 1 year later, I was in need of a larger location. City Manager Joel Dye approached me about a property that was then occupied by Spring Grove Variety, owned by the Huff family. The monthly payment of $3,625 in order to eventually own the building was intimidating to say the least, but it was a risk I was willing to take because I so passionately believed in the revitalization of downtown Allegan. The streetscape and infrastructure project has been in development since the Sassy Olive opened in its current location in 2018. It has been chaired at DDA meetings, Public Spaces Commission meetings, downtown lowdown meetings, and other public meetings. I know I speak for others when I say how thrilled we have been to watch the progress of this project and are anxious to see it become reality. I have intentions of rehabbing the vacant second floor of my building that, quite frankly, will be directly affected by the outcome of this project. I have watched the downtown evolve into a blossoming community with several new businesses opening every year. This is a direct result of the passion, determination, and willingness of a group of people to take their own calculated risks. The Sassy Olive has created over 20 jobs in downtown Allegan. My husband and I now live in downtown Allegan and rent out a commercial space to a retail store. There are other passionate people, many of whom are in this room, that have invested their time, money, and hearts into Allegan, and now it is the city's turn to invest in us. I still believe in the revitalization of downtown Allegan. Please consider how far your city has advanced over the past 5 years. Don't delay that momentum by delaying this much-needed project. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Landria. Condolences on your loss, Landria. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hello, Michelle Liggett, 145 Brady. I'm a business owner downtown. I don't quite live downtown, but close enough. Like Landria, I've seen downtown come alive in the last 5 to 7 years, which is great. And the first time my husband and I came downtown, we were like, well, this is fantastic. It's a Sunday. It's beautiful outside. Where's the outdoor bar? We can have a drink and watch the water. So we kind of ended up acquiring some buildings downtown, saw that this could be a cool place. If you look at actually a lot of places, we are unique. I mean, we've got water and a large enough downtown space that it makes sense to have people down here. Plus the downtown is large enough that, you know, you can see different streets. It's not just like an alley, so that's fantastic. I'm fortunate I get to see a lot of different towns and other projects for what we do. We sell product all over the world, so we get approached by other towns, other cities, and there's growth happening in a lot of places, and a lot of places start with how their town looks. I mean, obviously people, they see it with their eyes, right? Just like food or anything else. If they come downtown and they're seeing it's shiny, or they're seeing some cool nooks, or they're seeing some things, they're gonna spend more time here. So you want that dwell time. You know, you want people to come from not just here, but other places and enjoy the experience. Saying that, you know, my office is downtown. I have seen over the last 5 years the increase in traffic downtown, people walking their dogs, people having their lunch. And you also see people that try to navigate the streets. And I get this from, how do I get down to my zip line? You know, people don't know quite how to get down there all the time. And so you have to explain where to park and where to walk. And sometimes seeing people navigate some of the streets is not the best experience. I'm sure you guys all know what we're talking about, these sidewalks and some of the way the streets are and some of the, you know, just navigation things. So we've invested a lot of time and energy downtown. We believe in Allegan, just like everyone else here. There's a lot of energy that we've seen come into town, a lot of new families, a lot of great family energy, a positive energy that we've seen. So to not invest in downtown and not take option one like everyone's saying, kicking that can down the road isn't going to help town grow. So if it doesn't happen, I feel like a lot of opportunities are going to be missed. And with all the other opportunities happening around Michigan, this town just might get skipped over and not keep growing and not keep developing and not having cool things happen. I mean, people that are here are very passionate about Allegan. It is cool. So let's hopefully keep it cool, keep it growing, and have that energy. I'm on DDA, and this week we had our meeting, and everyone at the board meeting that day wanted to see it keep growing. So I know there's some positive energy from our committee saying, keep moving forward with this. So that is my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Michelle. Come on up. Come on up.
Greetings to all. Do I have to sign in here?
Yes, please.
Hope that didn't take up part of my 3 minutes. Okay.
Starting now.
Greetings to
I'm
all.
just kidding.
There are a lot of good things going on in the city, and I'm seeing them as well. But I also know that back when I was on council, I've kind of seen under the city rug, okay? So I know kind of what's going on. And as I recall, back when we had money earmarked for infrastructure, what happened to that? Never been clear about it. I have no idea. But that may lean to some of the neglect that we have and why we're in such disrepair. I heard the comment in this that if we choose not to go forward with this, then things will go into further disrepair, correct? Well, that happened when we had the earmark for that money, which was never used, evidently. Maybe I'm wrong, okay? But on the other side of it, I don't think we should go through with it. I think right now, think about your homes. Think about high gas prices. The country's in a recession. Things are going up. And we're doing this project, which also includes picnic tables over here between, on Trowbridge there, between Water and Locust. It's all part of a party atmosphere. If I was 20 years old, I'd say, party on, Joel. Let's have it. You're the coolest city manager in the whole world. But I'm a little more responsible now because I am a bill payer. I'm on a fixed income. I just paid a $181 water bill, not even counting what, according to the paper, says going up 4% to pay for this. Evidently, correct me if I'm wrong, that's changed since Monday. That's guaranteed somewhere in writing that we're not going to pay 4%. But you already did away, and you're charging us fraudulently, in my opinion, for sewer usage when we power wash and just water our lawn. I've got elderly people up in my block that paid $131 for their water bill, and they wouldn't help them out with it. For watering their lawn, $131 water bill, and they're charging them for sewer, which I don't know why sewer is a higher rate than water usage, so you're not pulling out as much as you're putting in, evidently. But it makes more money for the city, doesn't it? We raise our income for the city projects, okay? So all I'm basically saying here is that I'm glad to hear that you're not doing a 4% raise. I'm sorry to hear that you all voted to get rid of that mathematical figure and of watering your lawn, which we've all done for years. And I don't know of any other city having these high prices, but they might not have all the good projects going. So I'm saying that you're dealing with life-sustaining resources.
And Mike,
Oh,
I'm just gonna let you know that you are at your 3 minutes, so if you, if.
The last one, I think, went over a
Yep,
little more.
and
than
you have 2.
I will
so-
wrap up,
yep,
okay?
Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. All right, so when you're dealing with fixed incomes, I myself, you know, some people I heard are paying $200 water bills. That's just ridiculous. I can't believe you guys voted to take away from that. We're not using the sewer. It's not going in there. It's going into the ground, recycling and all that, keeping our town beautiful, as some talked about. And now you're putting it to where we can't afford to water. And quite frankly, for baby boomers and fixed income people, scares the heck out of us that we can't even flush our toilet without worrying about our water bill. So the rest, you're going to do what you want to do on all these projects. It usually goes that way, but it's very disappointing as far. I hope you use your head. It's not Joel's fault. for these projects, that's great. Go forward, push them up, come up with cool stuff. Parker comes
Okay,
up
Mike.
with great ideas. But I'm saying that it's not going to be their fault if this goes through. It's going to be council's fault. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elijah Bird, 645 Marshall. Yes, we are, the economy is not great right now. Everyone knows that. It's not getting better anytime soon. I think, like other people have said, kicking this can down the road, it's gonna cost us more money. We can pay it now, we can bite the bullet and do it, or we can kick the can down the road and pay more later. And I don't think the city can afford to do that later. Like, as business owners, we have taken a risk and invested in the city, and by postponing this or by just doing the surface stuff, like, we're just asking that our risk be respected and the city take a risk as well. This is maybe expensive, or yes, it is expensive. It is higher than we thought it was gonna be, but it's worth it. Like, is the city worth an extra $2 million? Yes, I think it is. It's worth our time, it's worth our energy, it is worth spending this extra money to do, and I don't think the city can afford not to when we look at it in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment?
I'm Jara Dukevich. I am not a downtown resident any longer, but I work downtown and I live just outside of town. Let me just put my address down. I emailed you all, so I did not come here planning to speak. I already put my thoughts down and shared that with you, and like I said in my email, I've lived in Allegan for just over 20 years, and so it's hard not to know everybody and meet everybody, but I know most of you quite personally, just because it's Allegan. It's hard not to. But like I said, I moved here about 20 years ago, and at that time, I was young, fresh out of college, moved to Allegan, lots of energy, kind of idealistic, and just thought the same thing a lot of people have always thought, and probably a lot of the same people in this room thought and feel is, wow, this town is just cool. It's got something. You know, there's just something special about Allegan. And we all knew it could be a little bit more. It was cool. Everybody had a vision, and everybody still does have a vision. And at that time, I got involved with a lot of community organizations, some groups. I think we called it Allegan Now, or it was so long ago I hardly remember. But again, I had a lot more time, a lot more energy then. Had children, and honestly, after a few years, I got a little let down. Like, I think the time wasn't right. I don't think the council was right. I don't know if the city leadership wasn't right. I don't know if the staff was right. Maybe the right people weren't living in town. And I backed away. I said, okay, I'm gonna focus on myself. I'm gonna focus on my family. I'm gonna focus on my career. We'll let Allegan do Allegan. In the years I've backed away, something started going very right. The right people joined the board. The right people came to town. It's like the stars aligned, right? And if you look at a little chart, I feel like kind of, up and down. Something has happened in these last few years where, man, it's like way up here right now, and it could go even farther. I go off out of personal feeling, maybe not always financial wisdom, but as we saw tonight, it makes sense. I came in here just out of the feeling, out of the vision. In the financial it does make sense. We've all proven this. It seems like a no-brainer. So that's why I'm talking, just in case there was a vote tonight and something didn't go as what all seems to be the right thing to do, I had to come up here and say something. Secondly, I do work in business. I'm no dummy. I've always worked for small businesses, and I understand how a small business can benefit and how that benefits residents and community. We all know that, basic economics. Secondly, I hear from people that I know personally and visitors and tourists that come to Allegan. Either they haven't been here in, say, 10, 20 years and they're shocked, or people that, so people that are visiting, people that haven't been in a while, people are blown away. People talk. There is a buzz that has been created about our little town. So I would hate to see that come to a screeching halt. Not saying, you know, if we don't do this, it's going to ruin everything, but I think that we're just on such the right track. It would be just silly and stupid. And voting no would be voting out of fear. Like, vote, don't live in fear. Don't make choices on what if, what if we did this, or what if we can't afford it. In life, you just have to go for it. Just do it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment this evening? Oh, okay. Welcome me up to the podium. And if you could just state your name also for council.
I am Jen Clark. I don't live in town, but I own a building in town. A little over a year ago, I took a leap of faith in downtown Allegan and I moved my business downtown. I have seen and I've heard lots of different things about our town. I've lived here my entire life. And on a daily basis with my job, I hear lots of positive, some negatives. I always try and take a negative and try and turn it around so maybe someone can see the light at the end of the tunnel and bring it to a positive end before they leave my chair or leave my business. I don't know if all of you have walked our streets in a while, but I do it almost on a daily basis. The sidewalks are crumbling. You have to watch where you put your foot or how high you have to lift it. There are streets that have ridges, inches and inches higher than the other plane that's sitting right next to it. There are sidewalks that have basically like a cliff you could walk off. And if you're not paying attention, you will seriously injure yourself. I had a stylist of mine in our salon. She was out here during a event in the town. And she was looking at, some of the vendors and just mingling amongst the streets. And she fell into a pothole. And she ended up skinning up her knee. And yes, she was fine. But it's just little things like that that need to be addressed. By pushing this off is not going to help. There's so many guests that come in and see us. And they love hearing about the Monday night food trucks, the events that we have going on in downtown Allegan. Our city is thriving. I, myself, have 2 small children. We love coming down and utilizing the new things that are coming into our town. The food trucks, you can walk around. It's wonderful that there are benches that you can go and sit and eat a meal, not necessarily having to be inside. Our streets, they need to be repaired. We need to have water and sewer that works and functions properly. Because if we don't, what do we have? If we don't have roads and sidewalks that work correctly, what do we have? Nothing. There will be no businesses that will want to come in. They will leave because they do not find the value in our town. I'm asking you, please do not push this off. It's not going to benefit our town. It's not going to make our town thrive. And we love our thriving town, and we love to see the way our town is growing in the vision that it has for itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Carl Canales, 311 Hubbard. I grew up around here. I remember in the 80s when the downtown was mostly abandoned. We're doing great now. We're thriving and we're growing. Choosing option 1 will keep that growth going. If we choose to do nothing, I think Allegan will die. We can't let that happen. Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Carl. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing no further public comment, I will go ahead and close public comment. And now is the time for council to ask any questions that they have of staff. So we did see our presentation. Peter?
I have a couple questions on the
Okay.
presentation. The bond payment amounts, I'd seen that on the slide, was it 68,000? Because that just doesn't make sense. 15 years, 68,000, that does not add up to 3 million. So I'm just trying to figure out where it was further back. I'm just trying to see if I read it wrong.
So, real quick, you got this?
No, go ahead.
This is the street-
I just thought you were looking for the,
No, it's the general and street fund.
I think we're missing a zero there.
This is the impact on the general fund and street funds. So the bond payment is 68,000 on the general fund and the street fund. This does not include the water or sewer funds.
Water and sewer, okay. Then we had projections on Monday of the water and sewer funds over the next so many years. Do we have those figures? Because that's the biggest concern to me, is if we end up with a water and sewer fund that's empty or very low when we have an emergency.
Correct. Yeah, we have those numbers for you.
Or the state goes and says we have to go to solid waste and we don't have the funds to do it, we're just gonna be bonding more. And
Which one do you want me to show them? I got these, and this.
is the total bonding that 346K? Is that my understanding from the answers that we got?
I have just a real quick one to piggyback off of Peter's. The total amount bonded was 3.4 million. Does that include the CWSRF? Yes?
You can say yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's,
They
that would be
shook their head
bonding,
like this. I'm like, we can say words up here.
that would be bonding from local, major and local streets, general fund, and,
Yes,
okay.
yep.
Sewer.
That does include the 15%
But,
forgiveness
okay,
on the
so we,
CWSRF.
we did hear back that the CWSRF has a 15% loan forgiveness.
Yep. We contacted the state, really with two questions, that, because when we originally applied for the CWSRF, it was a lower amount. A couple months ago, council did approve the bonding limit up to 2.12. We confirmed with it, because, and that was actually state recommended at that point. We did confirm with the state that they are able to allocate $2.12 million in their bonding program for Allegan to use. They said yes, and that the 15% forgiveness was approved on that entire amount.
Okay, thank you, because that changed a little bit from Tuesday. Okay.
Yes.
You guys have that pulled up?
So you see the fund balance sheets up there? You want to go over what you're showing?
yeah, this sheet just shows you what the fund balances are projected to be for the next 3 years with the updated numbers, with me doing the year end for 2022 and adjusting for this project in 2023. And then bond payments for 25 was when we'll start paying those bonds. So you can see we have, for 2023, we'd have 1.5 for sewer, 745 for water, and the general fund is 2.12, or the 3.3 for general fund, and then both local and major streets.
So these numbers include the 1.5 million that's taken out?
Yep.
And that would include bond payments coming out, Tracy?
Yep.
Peter, did that answer your question?
Somewhat. So are we total bond payments, 346,000? Is that correct from your answers that you sent us in email from
So the
street?
total bond payments will end up being $356,000 annually.
And is that 15-year bonds?
The CWSRF is a 20-year bond, and the GOLT bond is a 15-year.
And with the fund balances being depleted, if there were to be a major emergency of some sort, we still have some bonding capacity, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, because we're not going to use the 4.5 that we did in our notice of intent for the gold bonds. We're just, this would be 2.64 million of that 4.5, of which 1.8 is water fund, and the 788,000 is going to be for the general fund, which includes the streets. When we say general fund, it's the street portion.
I see Peter ciphering. While he's ciphering, does anyone else have any questions for staff?
I guess back at those fund projections, I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out where the 1.5 coming from. Because, I mean, the year before, did we get like a big bump or something?
So what happened in '22 was we received a bit more LCSA money, the local communities.
Local Community Stabilization Act.
Money. We had more money in that, which was not in the budget originally. The same thing will probably happen this year and next year too. I feel like at some point that's gonna stop happening, but, there's always expenses that don't happen that you think are going to, and revenue that comes in that, and like I had said Monday night, those were very conservative because I didn't figure in all the extras that would come in or not go out and things like that. So what I did over the last couple of days was go in and enter actuals for 2022. So we were a bit better off in 2022 than what I thought. So it's used up, but then, you know, there's other expenses and revenues that are coming in or going out that, you know, weren't projected in the budget back in May.
And Tracy, I know every year at our budget sessions, you explain that when you are creating the budget, you are very conservative with those numbers, and so you overestimate expenses and
Yep.
underestimate revenue.
Yep.
Dave, did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Council, were there any other questions for staff?
I have the same question as Peter.
Okay. Tony or Dan, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or do you feel like it's been pretty much covered?
Any questions that the council has for us, we're ready to answer those, but otherwise, we're all set.
Did a great job covering everything. They've done a great job the last few days figuring this all out.
Absolutely. And thank you guys too for your assistance. Peter, you look perplexed.
I'm perplexed because if I multiply out the bond payments by the years and add them together for the GOLT and the CWSRF,
Did you factor in the 15% forgiveness?
no, I'm not factoring in
Okay.
15% forgiveness, just the payments. I'm looking at what total amount are we paying for this project?
So that's, go back to that spreadsheet, Joel.
The number I came up with was like 5.5 million for that bonding, but I see the bonding amount there of 4.7, and that's not making sense in my head.
So right here is what we have estimated for the bonds. We have 1.8 for the water portion and 788 for the general fund / streets portion. And then we have the 2.12 for the Booker funds for a total, SRF funds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the total bonding portion is 4.763. What we did in the rate sheets that Doug runs for water and sewer rates, we have the bond payments calculate based on those, and then we plug the numbers in over here, being the 68-ish thousand for streets. 15 or almost 16,000 will be for major streets, 53,000 for local streets, to make that bond payment. Sewer, the gold bond portion of, no, we took that out, so that's not true. Because we're only gonna have, so this didn't get updated. So we don't have the gold bond for the sewer anymore, we're just paying that out of fund balance. And then, the CWSRF bond payment is $108,000 annually. And the water portion of that gold bond is gonna be $159,000.
What I'm looking for is if we multiply out by the number of years that those are there, what's the total that we're actually paying, not what payments are. I like to know what we're actually fully investing, how much money we're spending over time. So if we just multiply that by the 20 and by the 15.
I know. Tracy's used to a 10 key on the laptop. I don't believe in those, so.
That'd be 20.
20 years?
Yeah, 20 years equals, just say enter.
Tracy, while you're figuring that out, Joel, we still have a couple outstanding requests, correct? We've got a grant request for $1 million? Is
Yeah,
that
so
right?
we have a $1 million grant request into the MEDC. It's their revitalization and placemaking program. And then we have what I would call continued conversations with some major employers in Allegan, talking about, philanthropic endeavors to contribute to the downtown.
So option one, those figures do not include any of that.
They do
So
not
any-
include those at
Anything
all.
that would come in
Yeah.
would be off of anything that we needed to bond.
Correct. Correct. Thank you, Tony. So since Tony doesn't have a microphone, and since this is recorded live, we also have a MDOT TEDFB grant. That's a code for MDOT grants, $250,000 that would be applied for Hubbard, or applied to the reconstruction portion of Hubbard between Walnut and Chestnut. And so we're still waiting for that. That will be announced in November, and that was, I think, in that funding plan. I identified that.
So,
Did you get those figures, Tracy?
yeah, I see them there. That 3.3%, is that APR, is that total percentage for the total loan? Because that's what it looks like it's coming out to. Or is that like 3% per year? Or is that 3% total on the loan? Because an $80,000 difference is,
How is your spreadsheet set up?
It's an APR, annual percentage rate.
because just 1 year of interest should be like 90K. You know, so it's 90 times 15, I'm trying to figure out. It's like 1.3 million, and how it comes out to like 80,000 total difference over the life of the loan. I'm not quite sure how that's coming out.
The other thing I would offer, when you look at the GOLT bond, we don't know what those percentages are going to be, because they're going to go out to the private market, they're going to go out to the private market, and then the individual banks will bid on this, and we'll see where those interest rates come in at. Meridian Township just north of Lansing, did a $12 million bond that came in at 1.9% yesterday, or 2 days ago. So we'll see where those all end up. $80,000 over a 15-year period. Is that what you're saying, Peter?
No, I'm just saying, so what's the total GOLT bonding we're doing is 1.29? Is that what I'm seeing up top?
The total GOLT bond is 2.64.
Yeah.
0.64. And if it's like 3.3% per year, that should be about $87,000 a year in interest. And it'll decrease over time, so it'll probably go by 7, and that should come out to it. It's around 600K, so maybe that, I'm just trying to make sure that like we don't have a calculation mismatch here, because previously when we looked at this bonding and we multiplied it out, it was coming out to almost double the project total cost when we multiplied out the bonding. And now all of a sudden, we're only coming out to like an extra 800K above the what we're bonding. Because previously we were told bond payments, you multiplied them, and I was like, this is double the amount that we're taking in a loan because it's APR. So I'm just trying to make sure we're looking at these calculations right. I don't want to later get found out, oh, no, that's not right. This is not what the payments are, and that's not the total amount, because otherwise, I'm just, with that 800K, it doesn't, I'm not as concerned. The biggest concern I have on this project is that the project has more than doubled in the original scope, being from 3.3 million with a 20% contingent being at 5 million was kind of our estimate, and now we're at 10 million. And that's a big change. And we were trying to figure out how we were gonna pay for 5 million before, and now we're trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for 10 million. And not cause issues down the road if we have big surprises, because I'm very concerned with the solid waste, that the state comes in and says we have to go to solid waste, and we have to do that immediately. They did that in Maine, where they said, oh, you guys gotta go to solid on your waste. Concerned about any economy issues coming up, that we have another 08 type issue, and we had big problems in 08 for the city, and we had to do a lot of adjustments in order to make sure that we would maintain. One other question for Tracy. Okay, so the marijuana sales last year got us like 56,000. We had one store. How is that, what's the state set on that for the next following years? Because I'm assuming now with more stores and probably similar consumption that it's not going to be as much per store in the following years. So we can't assume that it will just multiply by the number of stores.
Do you have the answer to that? I haven't heard.
And we've got the new operation up in the industrial park too, which is a separate.
Do they count on that? Because they're not sales.
No, but they
You get
pay
the-
an annual
they have to pay.
$15,000 every year to operate
Oh,
in
I know the
city.
15, but it's,
Yeah.
the sales tax sharing, the excess tax sharing is what I was looking at, was the 56,000 that they paid per location last year. I'm assuming it's gonna go down per location because more locations came online, and if consumption stays similar, it's just gonna spread over more stores. So I'm just trying to figure out if we're gonna see a big income coming in or not with the extra 2 locations now, or probably go up to maybe like 100K rather than 56 is probably what I would assume.
So in 2022, we had budgeted 20,000 for the marijuana revenue. For 2023, we went up to 91.
Yeah, about, double. Okay.
Is the county matching our American Rescue Plan funds?
Yeah, so we put in a request, as we talked about on Friday, to the county through their Water Advisory Group. The Water Advisory Group recommended to the County Board of Commissioners that they approve our match, or approve a funding allocation to the city to match our $526,000. That will be going to the county next week.
I believe either the end of July meeting or the first one in September.
Yeah,
The
so
county commissioners. will
end of
vote.
August is, I think, is what we meant to say, yeah.
I'm sorry, yes,
No
end of
problem.
August or first one in
First one in
September.
September. The guidelines when the county first put this out was all requests go to the advisory groups. As long as you check those boxes and the advisory group recommends yes, the board will follow the board's recommendation. So once we heard yes from the board, we're confident that we'll be getting that.
And so that's also not factored into
That is
the numbers yet.
factored in.
We have seen that. That is in this.
The only thing that we don't have factored in there yet is the placemaking grant, that we'll find out about in September.
Mid-August, I talked to the EVP at Fort Hill, Washington, not speaking to the microphone again.
Thank you.
I talked to MEDC today. They're in the final evaluation on those grants, and they are expecting in a few more weeks, mid-September-ish at the latest, to do them right now. So that's what they're hearing. And then on the TEDF, that is also targeted for mid-September to know on that as well, so.
Thanks, Tony. Council, are there any further questions?
Anybody, we had talked about removing the plantings or anything like that. Is that anything that we want to consider, or is that just something that as we go through the project, if the project starts blooming, we just say yank them and we'll have to fund them elsewise?
That was actually going to be one of my questions, is if we were to approve at this level, as the construction project moves forward, do you still have some flexibility to draw it back?
So,
Dan?
real quick, Dan, I'm going to come on up to the microphone so you can correct me if I misspeak. Thank you. The way the agenda is set up for tonight, you have 3 resolutions. The first one is that you support the funding program as, described tonight in in the presentation. The next one, the next agenda item is that you approve to authorize the issuance of the, SRF bonding of 2.1. The third one is to approve a resolution to tentatively award a contract. We're going to go into what I'm going to call a negotiation period on this contract. And those things, we can do change orders, we can work through. You'll recall one of the items was a bid alternate for all the street furnishings and stuff. We will probably pull that stuff out for further discussion because not everybody was completely sold on the design we came up with. So, yeah, I think there's opportunities to remove some items as needed if we get concerned about something. Dan, is that safe to say?
That's accurate. Before the official award of the project, again, this is tentative, they go through the loan closing, there'll be opportunity to value engineer at that point, and then throughout the course of the project, we will be tracking all the unit prices. There's well over 100 line items on the contract, and each one of those will be tabulated, quantified independently as we go through.
Will that then come back to council, or once we approve this, you guys can do what you want?
We can't do what we want. We have the ability to operate within what you authorize. And
Change orders required, what was it, at 10%?
10%.
And if it goes above 10%?
Anything over 10%.
That's our current ordinance.
I know.
important to note that the bid amount that Millbocker submitted was 7.77 million, and what's before you tonight has contingency within that.
20% contingent.
Pretty healthy.
So the 10% threshold would be on the 7.7 million?
Our ordinance
It's
is on
not
the.
my threshold,
No,
so I
it's-
can't
It's on
speak
the total
It's on the
project.
project cost.
And I would assume if we have it out at 10 million here, it may be at 10% of 10 million in order for the city manager to come back to get approval for a change order. And it's total change orders over the life of the project. So it's 10% over the whole life of the project. Once he hits that level, every change order after that, he has to come get approval.
Is that the new ordinance?
No,
Or is
it's-
that the existing one?
That's the existing, because we haven't adopted any new
Okay,
ordinances.
I know, that's why I ask.
So
Okay.
there's the
Changed it
20%
either.
contingency, and then we've also got another million on top of that.
No.
That would be the 10%.
No, when there's a change order, like for the bridge, if there's a change order from the construction company or any of, the contractors that keep adding up because we've had to change something, if that hits 10% of the total project cost, then Joel has to come every time there's a change order. So let's say the sidewalk costs $50,000 more and everything is a little bit more. By the time you hit that 10%, he has to come to us for everything to get approval. So we could say, no, we're not going to pay that change order.
I think it's actually will be probably on the awarded bid total, not
what I
this.
was
It would be on
wondering.
that 7 million, whatever we finalize on an awarded bid. Once it hits that 10% total change order, they have to
So-
come back.
So if it's a change order that changes the 7.7 million, we'll have already reserved the 20% contingency fee that we haven't touched yet. Is that the way this is going?
Yeah, it would be, once you hit that 10%, so you'd be at halfway to our contingency. Every change order after that would have to come back to council. So we have 20% if we're going with this 10 million plan. If we hit the full 10 million, we would be having to do change orders on every one of those ones.
Well, it sounds like we would do change orders before we even
Yes,
hit the
at
10 million.
about
Is that
750,000,
accurate?
unless if we want to specify otherwise as city resolution and.
So, yeah,
Change the
it's
spending.
10% of the contract.
Yeah.
So the contract is 7.72. I can approve change orders up to $772,000.
Thank you.
Once they go
Okay.
above 772,000, I have to come to council and get your approval for any change orders above that.
Right.
Yeah, so you all understand it correctly. And that's clear in your purchasing ordinance.
No, I see in the resolution approving the contract, the last line has contingent upon successful financial arrangements with the state revolving fund program. Should we also have that contingent on successful general obligation bonds?
Yeah. The answer is if you would like to amend the resolution to have that added, we can do that. The resolution you see is the template that we have to submit to the state, because by August 17th, we have to tentatively award the contract. So we just use state boilerplate language.
And this was drafted by the bond.
This one was drafted by actually our engineer, because
Okay.
they work with the,
Yeah, it's boilerplate language, but it's reflective of your intent to move forward with the project and allow the loan closing through SRF to move forward. And the award will occur once the loan is closed.
So we would add it would be contingent upon the general obligation bond?
It's up to you guys. I'm
I
sure,
don't think, I think we could do that. That won't be confusing for the state. As long as we have the contingent on the state language as well, we'd be okay.
Dave, which resolution are you referring to specifically?
It's page 32 on the corners. It's the resolution tentatively awarding the construction contract. Oh, this is just wastewater system improvements?
Correct, because the clean water,
This is the CWSRF.
yeah.
That total's not 7.7 million, is it? That's total project.
Correct, because we have to submit a resolution to the State of Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, showing that City Council has tentatively awarded this contract to the contractor. And that's what they need this for. That's what we're doing this work for here. And that 7.7 is the total bid to do the project, which is more than the 2.12.
Resolution 2237.
32 at the top.
Yeah, but she's asking 6.
Oh.
If I could clarify that a little bit, 2.12 is we go through a detailed accounting of the project to determine what portion of the project is eligible for the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund work, which is that work that ensures water quality of the state of Michigan through improvements to wastewater collection and treatment. So that includes the direct cost, including sewers, manholes, the services that go towards the buildings, as well as the portion of road that is necessary to accomplish those elements. And so that's where we develop that cost with the contingency comes to the 2.12 out of the 7.7.
But Dave, are you just questioning that on the CWSRF, it's the entire project cost, not the 2.12? Is that?
Yeah, I'm looking at the resolution to tentatively award the construction contract. And I see that's got the total construction cost. And so my initial question was, okay, I see it's contingent upon the state revolving fund getting approved. But the thought that entered my mind was, shouldn't we also make sure we've got the general obligation locked in before we approve and lock in the 7.7 million expense? If we're doing that for the state revolving fund, shouldn't we do that for this as well? And then I saw this is specific to the wastewater system improvements. So now I'm trying to reconcile those two. Does that make sense?
The use of the term wastewater in this case simply is a boilerplate for the CWSRF program. This project qualifies for CWSRF under the auspices of the improvements to wastewater. There are also other components of this project.
Correct.
Hence, what we call the alternative justified expenditure. I alluded to this deep dive that we do on accounting for what percentage of the work is eligible, because not every project that goes through CWSRF has to go through that.
And that's why we have the different proposals, or rather than just.
Yeah, so, because this is a multifaceted project with the street and the water and the wastewater, et cetera, the fact of the matter is the language that you're looking at relative to CWSRF is because they fund wastewater projects. So that's boilerplate language.
But that's a portion of the total project. And I guess I'm with you. I don't understand why CWSRF is
That's
a
when
portion
they
of the
were
total
hoping they-
project, and yet it has the full project cost on the CWSRF.
And I think the important thing is that we know what we're agreeing, I mean, three basic questions. What are we agreeing to? How much does it cost and how are we paying for it? So in this resolution, if I'm understanding correctly, we're approving the whole contract
Correct.
tentatively in this resolution.
Correct. I think it seems like what we might be tripping on is the use of the term wastewater, and that is CWSRS term because they fund wastewater projects.
Right.
And so what you're resolving to do is authorize the tentative award of the entire contract.
For the whole contract. So I could almost scratch off wastewater system improvements
If you would like.
in my head.
On your paper, yes.
But I'm agreeing to a $7.7 million contract. And so that makes me feel like I do want to add contingent upon general bond approval, because I probably wouldn't agree to a contract until I've got my financing secured.
The element of the additional bonds, that the city's looking at doing for the street component of the work, I guess that's something you can evaluate, and I don't know if staff has any recommendation on that, but I don't know whether Eagle would have any issue with amendment to that boilerplate language.
It just sounds important to know I've got it. So, I mean, do we need like a legal opinion on this, or?
But this language came from Eagle?
Eagle, yes it did,
Okay, so this is what they're looking for
yes.
in the proposal that we submit to them? Okay.
I'd love to take credit for all the verbiage there, but I basically filled in the blanks.
So personally, I guess if Eagle, this is their language that we're just filling in the blanks for, I mean, I'm comfortable with the way that it's written, because that's what they're looking for, and this is their language to get this approved. Yeah, come on up, Tony.
If I may, this may help alleviate some of your concern with that. This is still nothing but a tentative award. You can still make sure, you don't have to specifically say the general obligation bonds in there, because all you're doing tonight is making a tentative award into the closing. Something comes up, you can't close your general obligation bonds, you're under no responsibility for anything you do tonight to enter into the contract, because there's nothing permanently being done tonight. It's just intent to do these things. So you still have flexibility and protection in that area. If that helps you make sense a little bit of that, because you're not committing to anything tonight of signing a contract.
And I guess that's what I was asking earlier. This says tentative. Will this come back to us again then, is what I was asking earlier?
Yes, so
Yes.
once we have a final contract, we need council's approval to direct the mayor and the clerk to sign the contract. So that will come back to you.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
I know you just saw the resolution this afternoon through email, the first one, 22.35. But that last section, be it further resolved that the Allegan City Council hereby approves staff to present another resolution approving the gold bond in the amount not to exceed $3 million. So we're going to come back to you with another resolution to authorize staff to work with our bond counsel to go out and, start that process on that gold bonding at that time.
So to Councilman Redding's point, those toll gates are still in there that had to be cleared yet before you do commit that money down the road here. So that helps.
So what we're agreeing to tonight is an application to bond with a state revolving fund for the 2.1 million.
So again, the item 6A, once we get to those points, the first one is approval of resolution 22.35 to approve the downtown infrastructure funding program. That is saying what you saw tonight, what you read in that resolution, you're okay with it. 6B, approval of resolution 22.36 to authorize the issuance of 2022 sanitary sewer system junior lien revenue bonds in the amount of $2,120,000 to replace sewer mains in downtown Allegan as part of the downtown infrastructure program. That's the bonding, that's the financing part, that goes through Eagle. And then item 6C, approval of resolution 22.37 to tentatively award a construction contract for wastewater system improvements with Millbocker and Sons to construct improvements to the city's existing wastewater system, roads, sidewalks, streetscape amenities in downtown Allegan. understanding that the resolution that was in there deals directly, is boilerplate language from Eagle that we need for the CWSRF to review and say, yes, they check that box, they have tentatively, entered into a approved the contract, and we can go ahead and start the underwriting process. We have someone ready for a shovel-ready project is what this really is.
Okay.
So it really is three options, and then we're gonna come back to you at your August 22nd meeting with another resolution for the GOLT bonding based on passage of 22.35. If you don't pass 22.35, we're not coming back with a a GOLT bond resolution, and, you chose option 3 of the 3 options that we presented. And then at that time, we'll go out, we'll see what the market is, and then we'll present the final, contracts and the final to enter into all those bonds.
Council, are there any other questions? Mike or Bill, do you have any questions? I haven't heard much from you guys tonight.
To adjust where the seating plaza is?
So I am going to just be clear right on that one right now, because both Councilmember Morgan and you have reached out to me. We've reached out to the state of Michigan regarding the funding, because it's part of that CWSRF. Since those plans have already been submitted and approved by the state, that answer is no at this moment. They were very clear. They did not want to do an amendment process at this time. They said, if you're going to change your plans, you're going to have to kick this project down the road. So at this time, no, it's not possible for us to do it. Once construction starts, we might have a conversation. It still might be a no, but we will ask that question again.
So really, if we approve 35 and 36, we are really approving go ahead, kind of option 1, really.
You're approving option 1, correct. And then you have to approve 37, because that has to be approved before August 17th. That's a milestone in our funding program for the CWSRF.
Council, are there any further questions? Did you want clarification about option 1 versus 2? I think option 3 is pretty obvious.
I'm not seeing any value in option 2 or option 3. I think the real question is just how are we financing this, right? Like I've heard nothing but support and recognition of the need for the streetscape and improving streets and sidewalks, but the financing is very complex and a really important question. So I think that's what we're really grappling with.
And do you have questions about what's been presented then from staff?
Yeah, I mean, it's different than what we saw Monday night, and so it's a lot to digest. It's, I'd like to get these presentations so that I can really make sure I understand and I can see the numbers and have them reflected in the budget. But at this time, I don't have any other questions.
And my understanding is with the CWSRF, we do need to approve this evening, correct?
By August 17th.
By August 17th.
And the reason you chose this evening for your special meeting is
The
you
only
went
time
around
we
and
could all
checked
be
everyone's
here.
calendar, and this was the only evening all 7 of you are going to be in Allegan.
So, I mean, if we took a recess, Dave, and, everybody took a few minutes just to kind of review everything, would that help? To give a little bit of time to review things more thoroughly and then reconvene? Or otherwise, I mean,
With what I'm being presented tonight, I'm not, the revolving fund bond, I think, we've got a timeline to get that done. It sounds like we're not committing ourselves to the final contract yet because we haven't seen that at this point. I understand we've got the resolution laying out the general financing process. It seems like we would still have opportunity to make sure that makes sense before we sign the final contract. So
that's my understanding.
I'm okay. I mean, I could support a recess. There's certainly a lot to dig through here, and I'm happy to read, but I don't.
That was just an offer. Yeah. Teresa, you had something?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think Tracy is comfortable with this, and I think we need to put a lot of faith in Tracy working her numbers. The presentation she's done, it's right there in black and white, and it's not her first rodeo. So that's just my opinion.
All right, so if there are no further questions of staff, I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 22.35, which is, again, to approve the Downtown Infrastructure Funding Program.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Staff, did you have any further reports to give for the remaining
I do
proposals?
not.
All right, we'll just move on down then. Next, we have 6B, which is an approval of Resolution 22.36, which is to authorize the issuance of the 2022 sanitary sewer, which is the CWSRF that we continue to talk about, in the amount of $2.12 million. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
It has been moved and supported. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Under 6C, we've got approval of Resolution 22.37, which is the tentative award of the construction contract for the wastewater systems improvements with Millbocker and Sons. And that's to construct all the improvements downtown, existing water, wastewater system, roads, sidewalks, and streetscape amenities. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
It has been moved and supported. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next up, we've got agenda item number 7, which is comments from the city manager, staff, council, and mayor. Joel, did you have anything this evening?
Yeah, just an update for council. I am going to be out of the office starting this evening through sometime next week, probably Thursday, if not Friday. My family is in from Germany, and this is their last week, and they've requested that I finally spend time with them while they're here. And I said, sounds good. So if you need me, I'm available by cell phone, or I'll be in contact with Tracy every day.
Thank you. Enjoy your time. Other staff, anything that you have to add? Tracy, Doug, Parker? Tracy?
I would just like to add, if you guys have any questions about these spreadsheets or things, the interest rates, I mean, I can work with you guys on that, or Joel and I can. We've spent a lot of time, Doug and I, verifying and double-checking each other's numbers to make sure we're not missing anything. So I believe both of us are very comfortable with the project. It's still nerve-wracking, it's a lot of money, but I think it's doable, and like I said, I'm here to answer questions if there's something that you guys didn't get answered today.
Thanks, Tracy. And again, you guys had nothing?
I would like to add one
Okay,
thing,
go ahead,
since
Parker.
it didn't make it in until the tail end after we adjourned on Monday. The Allegan Community Players have a musical upcoming this weekend at the Griswold Auditorium on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The man controlling the camera in the back room texted me and asked me to plug, since he is a part of that group. So it should be a very funny show, a very nice production put on by the local community players. So hopefully somebody can attend.
Thanks, Parker. Mike, did you have anything this evening?
No, a lot of the emails that I got from the business owners, I think we all got the same ones we determined. They kept coming at that we didn't want the streetscape. The streetscape was never the issue. All the funding is really due to what's underneath the streets. So, it doesn't appear as though the public has all the facts when you come at some of those points. And that's not, we walk the streets just like you do. We see it, we understand that. It's a difference of 5 million that we're talking about, and then all of a sudden it's presented as 10 million. And that's something we really want to make sure the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. It's not a matter of not doing it. We need to do this stuff, but we need to make sure that it's done proper.
Thank you, Mike. You got a nice musical accompaniment for that final. Let's say. Keep, Peter, anything tonight?
Nothing.
Teresa, anything from you?
No, thank you.
Roger?
Thank you all for being here and for speaking out and showing your support. That really means a lot to us because, as Mike said, this was a big sticker, and we had a lot of sticker shock, big price tag. So having your support is really helpful, and thank you to staff and for all of our engineers who worked your tails off. I kind of have this feeling like this was the Apollo 13 mission, you know, and all of a sudden we got to land this thing. And you guys really figured it out and figured out funding and didn't have to increase rates. And I just appreciate all your hard work for that. And thanks for council. That's seeing it through.
Thanks, Roger. Dave, anything from you?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Bill, how about from you?
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. Landry, especially you. My sympathies are with you, dear. This is a big project, and to have the businesses of our community to support it, they're going to be the ones for the next year that are going to suffer the most. It is greatly appreciated, and I hope the community survives and pushes towards and helps out every single one of the businesses within our community. As a former business owner, I do hope that from the bottom of my heart, and thank you again, all of you.
Thanks, Bill. And I have nothing. I've already kind of said it all. So just thanks everybody for being here and all of your input. And again, thanks to staff. So we are adjourned at 7:41.